It's why here
I'm not sure,
I'm
but
so
I tell you
fast.
what, we're going to find out when we look at some of your data in a minute. We're going to find out what the themes are. Um, I'll tell you what, why don't we just start with data, because we've already got data to look at for this one.
Yeah.
So, because we've both done a run, we've got some pretty decent comparison data here. And there's a couple of places where 100% the thing you're doing is definitely better than what I'm doing. There must be places as well that I'm doing something different to you that's working, but there's a couple of things that I definitely want to start by saying don't change. And thankfully, the two main ones are at the end of the lap. So you seem to be very, very good at the long corners for some reason, and I'll show you what it is you're doing in them. But you
Okay.
know, you've got kind of the final corner and the other properly long corner, which is before that. Obviously, the chicane near
Hmm.
the end of the lap doesn't really count because it's just full
Right.
throttle. But let's start off with the final corner. So last corner, you're taking. What's interesting is the reason you're quicker than me is the opposite in both of these corners. So even that isn't a trend. But for the final corner, you're starting wider, so you're having like a later, more relaxed turn in, and you're making quite a clear apex in the middle, and then you're letting the car run wider. So that's good. You're like really outside, inside, outside. You know, you're tighter in the middle, you're wider on the approach, you're tighter in the middle, and you're wider on the exit. And those three things are just better. And you can see when you look at the speed trace, I'm clearly trying to carry too much entry speed and trying to take a short distance, and my minimum speed much later, and it doesn't work. Like
And
you're
that's funny because it's like the reverse of how we normally are, right? I mean, normally I tend to try to carry too much speed into the entry,
yeah.
and you're always telling me, look, you need to go slower into the entry so we can go faster out. And
Yeah,
normally that's not what I do, but
you definitely are here. Like you're doing the correct thing here. If I looked at this bit of data and saw the red and the blue line, I just even without knowing what the delta difference was, you could say, yeah, the red one is the better one. It's got a much more defined minimum speed and it gets on with the exit much better. It looks like the blue line has outbraked himself, judging by this. And what I was feeling was just understeer. So I didn't feel like I braked too late. I just felt like I just couldn't get it to turn. But you've found a really, really good way of making that work. So that's good. Don't change it at all. Your brake shape, as we quite often see, is very, very similar to mine. But I think the way you're making this work is, look at this. It's very subtle, but you've got a slightly higher level of trail braking pressure. So although our shapes are similar, I'm doing
hmm.
brake and release, but I'm then doing a little extra a bit of braking here. Whereas you're not. You're doing brake and then slightly later release, but by the time you come fully off, the car's set up correctly and everything's going how you want it to. So
Hmm.
basically, just keep doing it the same. It's really good. The final corner. The other one is the penultimate proper corner. I know there's the chicane, and what
Yeah,
you're doing here is totally the opposite. So here you're
yeah.
going in earlier, and in fact, let me get onto the data on the right corner. There we go. So here you're going in earlier, faster. You've got a later minimum speed, and it's working. So for me, looking at this data, if I was your teammate, I'd just be thinking, okay, I need to totally swap around the techniques I'm using for the final two corners because although they're similar in kind of look, they actually
Hmm.
because this is actually the last corner is just a much longer corner. This one here is just a tighter corner. Even though it looks similar, you have to zoom in for it to look similar, and this one is a bit longer. You're doing like an early apex, run wide in the middle, and then a second apex. Whereas I was doing the turn in later and then try and have a later apex. And although it nearly matches you on the exit and the mid corner speed is better, you've gained too much on the entry. You're diving in and making hay here is
Hmm.
enough or more than enough to account for my slightly better mid corner speed. So basically, keep doing it. You can see the difference is if you're 5.531 behind there, when you exit, you've gained a tenth and a half roughly. So you gain about a tenth
Hmm.
on the last corner, about a tenth and a half there. So just we're talking small differences, although it looks quite significant on the data, but it's working. So just keep doing what you're doing.
I
It's just
wondered, so as I was, trying to get up to speed here on my own in in anticipation of this day, and I would start off kind of bad, but I kind of quickly found some ways to get around faster. And I wondered if it's because I've driven a real car here. I,
Maybe.
I
Yeah,
don't know,
maybe
but
you've got a good picture of the shape of the circuit in your mind, and you know your mental map of how long the corner is and what's coming up around the corner. Maybe it's just accurate, and that's helping you. That's
it always
perfectly.
confounds me a little bit because I'm faster here than, I mean, some places I'm decently fast, but some
Yeah,
places I'm not.
you
And
seem effortlessly fast here. You seem to be just like on a really strong pace. Like it's very good. It's really really good. So anyway, you haven't really learnt much there other than don't change things. So we should probably look at some places where maybe you can change.
yeah,
So let's just look at those. So those are two places where that you have a net gain, and let's look at some places where you have a loss. So turn one, I think we are pretty similar. You're actually up on me by the time you get into the middle of turn one. By the time we exit and we're at the next chicane, we're nearly back level. But essentially, your turn one's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it at all. It's at least as good as mine, if not slightly better. But we're just achieving it in different ways. So you're braking a bit later, but you're slightly slower in the middle. I'm braking a little earlier, slightly quicker in the middle. But it comes to a similar outcome. By the time we get to the next corner, you're slightly ahead actually, 0.75. Definitely don't change it because you've obviously got muscle memory of a way which just works for you, and it's definitely not any slower than what I'm doing, so that's good. But into the first chicane, certainly on this lap, this is where the time loss begins, and it's quite a simple one, thankfully. You're basically just going in a little bit slower. That's all. You've got a compromise where you're trying to be slightly quicker in the middle than I am by a fraction, but in order to achieve that, you've gone into it slightly slower. So let's have a look. I think a big difference is I'm staying in the same gear. So I'm staying in fourth gear. I figured that out in the middle of my first run, I think. I was like, oh, I think third is holding me back through here. So I'm using fourth, basically. So I think that's probably, if you make one change, it's just try it in fourth and adapt it with the rest of your driving to whatever you need to do to make fourth work, which is
and I
probably carrying a bit more speed. Sorry, go on.
I think that if you look at some of my other laps, I'm not positive, but I've tried to switch from third to fourth. Now,
Okay.
occasionally, if my car's not positioned right going into the left hand, then I've taken another gear down like I started doing. I started always doing that in third, and I was shifting from third to fourth somewhere between the interchange and
Yeah.
the left to the right. And then I switched and I started doing both turns in fourth. It was a little hard at the beginning. I was losing control, and then I figured out a little bit how to do it. And then occasionally on that exit from turn one, if I feel funky or sometimes with muscle memory, I click down for whatever reason.
Okay.
But I don't know. If you look at some of my other laps, I think you might see that I am
Okay,
trying fourth.
let's bring in another one anyway. If we can find one that jump to draw. Let's see if I can. No, no, that's a complicated way of doing it. Let's see. Do you know of which one of the laps it was likely to be? Just so
I
choose
I
the right
don't. I just
one.
know that that's been my habit to try to do that. If it's an early lap, then it's maybe that I don't do it because I feel like the traction there is funny
Let's
when I don't
try
have a lot of grip.
let's
So
try this one. I'll give this one a go. I know it's only one lap before, but let's just see. This one. Not that one. Nope, let's delete him. Let's try another one. But I definitely think fourth is quicker. You just have to make
faster.
it work. It's just because you're able to, get on the power harder on the exit for a start, and I think it just drags you through at a higher speed. But you do have to be accurate, because obviously if you're inaccurate in fourth, then you don't have
Yeah.
the torque and the power to pull you out of that lower minimum speed. So you've got to be accurate and keep the speed. Let's go for this one. If it's not here, we'll just give up on this. No, you're third there as well. So I think you more commonly it looks like you're in third nowadays,
That's
at least.
strange.
But anyway, I think that's really the first thing through there. If you can just go
Okay.
in a fraction earlier, so that's one thing that watching the video here, this looks like quite a late turn into me, which makes sense because you're trying to be on the left to get a good line into here, but for whatever reason, let's just have a look, see how mine looks into there. It feels like I'm going in slightly early. I think the data shows it. Yeah, I didn't even get all the way out to the edge here. I didn't even have time to get out here. So this isn't ideal. Ideally, I'd be over here, but like where you are. But I'm still going through here quicker, even though I'm not using as much track. So let's see why. This is definitely part of it. So on your lap, you didn't get on this curb. So that's
It's called more skill. You have
it's,
more skill than I do.
it's just a slightly better version on this lap. Right, okay, so I shouldn't be that narrow, but it still works. Look, I'm still able to get to exactly the same point in the middle of the track here as you did, even though I went through at this higher speed here on a less ideal line. So I think that proves it's probably worth it. Ah, here we go. Right, I wonder whether this is it. So you're picking up... Yeah, okay, I think this might explain some of it. You're coming off the throttle earlier, but then getting back on earlier. If you try this early throttle and you've gone in faster, it's just going to really push you wide. So maybe... You see how I've got a very deliberate 0% throttle here. But when I get back on, it's really hard, and then again it's very deliberately off. Whereas you've got like this, you're trying to keep some gas on all the way through, and I think maybe that's what's pushing you wide. Like here, so you've gone in on a better line but ended up in the same place, because probably because this throttle here is pushing you to the middle, and then at this point, yeah, understeer. Right, I think it's understeer in this case. And here again, you're at the point I'm fully off to force the rotation. You're still at 27%, and then we track kind of quite a similar trace here with the throttle, but you've already begun this trajectory of running wider. So, and then you see where this is everything's good, everything's fine, although your distance is longer. But here, because you're still in third, where my my speed trace just goes up and up, like carries on, you've got this flattening off because you can't get on the gas as kind of really assertively here at this point, because you're in that lower gear. And obviously you then probably hit the limiter. I think you do hit the limiter here on that lap. Yeah.
Can I see where you've gone to full throttle between the turns?
So here we go. Let's go in slow-mo, and then I'll show you on the data as well. So little trail break there. So full throttle, lift to make it turn with a little touch of the brake. Obviously using all the inside curb as well if you can.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I thought about it, and then I had a little... you see what happened before? You see what happened when I did it too hard?
Yeah.
I think that was more from going too wide, actually. I think that's more from it bumping over here somewhere. But yeah, on the data, we actually both get to full throttle at the same time here. This little dip in your speed, or this stopping accelerating, is actually, I think, because you're on the limiter in third. I think you've just left it a bit too long to change. Probably because you're waiting for the speed to pick up enough that it's not going to spin the wheels when you change and go up. I think the biggest thing, though, is making it work in fourth. This bit here to here, because that's going to be the main gain. And obviously then on the exit, if you don't hit the limiter and you just continue that nice drive off in fourth, you're going to have more traction in fourth anyway. That's going to be the rest of this gap, because at one point you were 2 tenths up on me in turn one, and now we're down to 2 and a bit tenths behind. So there's definitely something in that. There's definitely something in that. Right, okay. Next chicane, you make a gain on me on the way in, and then a loss on the way out. Okay, interesting. Let's have a look at this one then.
Yeah, I've had trouble with this corner. Actually, with both of those that we're talking about now, I've kind of, I don't know, I was terrible for a day or so when I was doing this, and then I kind of figured out a way to get through it, but I know that it's not ideal.
Okay, on this lap, I think it looks worse than it is because we're zoomed in so much. Because in reality, you 0.22, and then if we take it to its extreme down to here, it's a 1/10 and a half on this lap. But and I think we're probably about to see some section where you're really, really nailing it. But this bit, the compromise is just slightly too far on the entry. You're just trying to go in a tiny bit fast. And I did find time by going in quicker than I originally went in. But I think you've gone a bit too far in that direction. So you're just braking a little bit. You can see your brake shape as well is slightly slower. We reach a similar peak, but you've got there quite a lot later. And so I'm getting it turned and then obviously back on the power earlier. It's just that kind of deliberately fully off, fully back on, fully off. And then, hey, I've got a similar almost full throttle step there as on the previous corner. But it's just a general gain on the exit. It's mainly that you've gained on me here to here, and then I've made it. So you've made a how much? 0.216. So you've made like a tenth and a half-ish gain on the entry, but then I claw it all back and more down to the next minimum speed point. So it's that is the big one. It's this exit. Let's zoom out slightly so we can see it. So in terms of the map, it's from here. Yeah, so you're quicker for where red dot is there to there. So into the chicane and almost out of it. But then from there all the way down to say here, that's where the loss is. So yeah, we just switch the focus slightly. We'll just be slightly more trying to get it out of the corner faster. And obviously you can see in the middle, we just slightly positioned differently. That's why you have to wait to get on the gas. Again though, we're in different gears, but the other way around this time. So I'm actually slowing it down to fourth and then getting a better drive off, and you stay in fifth. So your minimum speed being lower and later, plus you being a gear higher, is what's probably causing most of this. So if you can do this bit and get down to fourth about here and drive off as well as I did, then you're going to be quicker. But yeah, just go down one. So don't go down one at the first chicane. Do go down one at the second chicane, and then you'll be definitely ahead of me by now. All right, now the next section we have a different compromise, as I think we've seen before. So I think you're about to start clawing some speed back in this bit. So yeah, so from here then, so as we go down the hill here, yeah, look how much better positioned you are on the way into here. So where I have this big old lift, you bravely keep your foot down much more, 80% throttle, and then you just carry more speed here to here. So you've gone from, you claw back, what is that, half a tenth? Oh, I thought it'd be more. Okay, I think the reason it isn't is because of the distance, because it's pushing you wider. I'm just going a shorter distance, even though it's a little bit slower. So, yeah, I don't think you need to worry too much about this bit. This isn't where our focus should be, because you're not really, if you go from there to there, you end up slightly closer to me by the end of that high-speed bit than you were at the start. So, if anything, like with the final two corners, if anything, keep this bit exactly as you are doing it, because I think it's working. As a whole, that section's working. And you've also learned how to do it this way now. Like, you've got good muscle memory for it, so I don't think there's much point us trying to change that, because it might end up worse anyway, because right now you're slightly quicker. So let's go to the final couple then. There's only really one more, actually, that we haven't dealt with. It's the third of the 90 left, 90 rights. Well, actually, the fourth, if this counts. Yeah, let's see. So, I haven't even seen the speed yet. Let's have a look. It's here. Right, so this one, we're 3.5 tenths different on the approach. And by the time we finish this bit... Okay, so we lose a couple of tenths here. It looks like it's all on exit, isn't it? Okay, this is quite straightforward by the looks of it. I don't think this is much of a problem. I go in slightly slower, come off slightly quicker. And it's similar with that. You see the very definite off throttle and back on throttle. Because you've gone in a little bit too quick, you're a little bit too tight here, and you're forced to wait off the throttle. And that's it. It's as simple as that. You just went in shallower, went in deeper because you went in shallower and faster. So you turned in earlier, and you carried more speed up to the apex. That pushed you wider. That killed the exit. That's it. So, like chicane number 2, we'll just switch the compromise slightly. The difficulty here is, Robert, it's not a very big change. The data definitely makes it look bigger than it is. It'll only be a very, very slight change in your driving, and this could easily go the other way. You could easily be going in too slow, and you'll get a good exit, but it doesn't matter. So but the one good thing is you don't have to change your gear here. You're in the right gear already. So the only technique changes are in the first couple of chicanes in terms of gear. So we go 1 gear higher for chicane 1, 1 gear lower for chicane 2, focusing on trying to get slightly better exit. And for chicane 3, let's call this one. I know you've got the high speed one here, but that one doesn't really feel like a chicane, so I'm going to ignore that. Right. This one, which is very definitely right into a left, slightly slower on the way in, slightly later turning, slightly closer to the middle here, and then slightly harder on the gas when you do get on the gas. I've got this. I mean, your exit throttle application's fine. This is perfect. It's just you've missed out on this bit, and so there's a point where we're quite similar on speed, But then about here, I've managed to crank it up like 15k more, and suddenly I'm covering a
Mhm.
lot more distance. But that's it, right? And then after that, we've already covered the rest.
Yeah.
We've only really got 3 corners to look at, haven't we? Because the rest, you're either at least as good or better than I am already. So if you nail those 3, you'll suddenly be better. You know, your overall time will definitely be better. So turn 1's fine. First chicane, small tweak. Second chicane, small tweak. The high speed bit, forget it, it's fine. Third chicane, small tweak. Keep the rest of the lap exactly the same. That's it.
First chicane
1
is
gear higher.
fourth gear.
4th gear higher entry
Second
speed.
chicane is fourth instead of
4th gear,
fifth.
yeah, exactly, and lower early speed, but not much.
Speed. And then the last chicane is the correct gear. I don't
But
remember what gear I'm in when I'm
yeah,
there. I
I
think
think it's 4th
fourth, I
again.
think.
Yeah, it's 4th. Yeah, so they're all 4th. They're all quite similar size, aren't they? But just slightly
Bit
later
slower
turning.
later.
Very slightly later turning. In fact, we haven't actually looked at the video, so let's just look. These all come with the normal caveats that's just what you did on this lap.
Yeah.
But you might be doing it slightly different on other laps, but it's mainly the speed. It's mainly the speed because you've ended up here. You're now pinched tight. I'll just show you it in full speed all the way through. I mean, it still looks bloody good, to be honest. It's just if we're looking for small differences.
Yeah.
Let's just look at this one. It might be difficult to even see a difference here. I'm using more of this curb for sure to open it up. That's something.
You're tighter and tighter.
Yeah, it's tighter at this point. That's the crucial bit. That allows that full throttle at that point. That's the difference. Am I off the throttle for longer? Quite obviously. Where are we? Just here. Bit less, mate. Let me drag my thing. Slightly. Oh no, but that's this bit. No, I'm not really off the. If it sounded like I was off the throttle for quite a long time, but you are as well. So it's not that. It's more that you weren't able to get to full throttle at the point I was, just because of that positioning difference. So there we go. It's a really simple to understand change. Maybe not quite so simple to do because you're already so close to that. But that's where the lap time is. That's it. In those 3 places, if you do that, you're going to be ridiculously rapid. So let's just do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just drive better in those places. Easy.
That's easy, right? That's all there is to it. Okay. Are you guys getting ready to do the Daytona?
I'm not, because I'm away all weekend, so I can't do it,
okay.
unfortunately. I would definitely have otherwise. But yeah, I'm working on a karting event all weekend, so I'm not going to be here. I probably could have squeezed a stint or 2 in, but I don't like my timing to be quite as tight as that if I've been working all day, so.
I know I went down to 3rd there, but
Oh, you don't on the cold tires?
Yeah.
I mean, how long did it take me before I got remotely representative times? Even on my 3rd run there, it wasn't till lap 3 that I was down to the times. I got near my best on lap 3, and then it was 25.2, 25.1, 25.2, 25.1, and then right at the end I was in the 24. So probably lap 3 onwards we can judge a bit more accurately. So just build up to it. I think I forgot to turn damage off in this session, so just don't crash.
I'll try.
Yeah, just use these laps to get your eye in. The good thing is you don't have to worry about these other corners because you're there. Tell you what though, Robert, you'd be a very good teammate to have if we were in the same team, because we're doing different things that work in different corners, so I could definitely learn from some of your things and vice versa, and then we come to the best overall conclusion.
That would be fun to do. It's too bad they don't have races where you can in Super Formula.
Yeah, I do think it'd be cool if iRacing did some shorter two-person, teammate races.
Oh, see that?
Where you did like
That's the
40 minutes
trouble.
each. Oh, well held. I spun there twice. On my first 2 laps of my last run, I had a spin on both of the first 2 laps in that corner. Don't be afraid of those yellow sausage curbs as well, by the way. You don't want to drive over them massively, but don't be afraid to clip them. And that really, they're only a very small bump, and it gives you the freedom to use the real full width of that curb without being scared of it. I found a bit of time by really getting near the yellow thing. You can see they're covered in rubber, so people obviously hit them quite a lot. That's where I found my final couple of tenths, actually, was giving myself the freedom to clip the yellow things.
Took me a while to get that later turn in on the last corner working. I was doing it differently for a while.
Yeah, every lap I drove, I was thinking, this isn't going to be quite right, but it's the best I've got at the moment. I think to make that fourth work, I know we're only on the second lap, but to make that fourth work, you definitely need to use full width of both curbs. That's good. That's lovely. And you can use the exit curb there too if you need it. So if it's not forcing you onto the exit curb, you probably could have got on the gas earlier. Obviously, I know there's an off track that you can pick up if you go too wide.
That wasn't very pretty. That was fast.
Yeah, the fact that you're not tying yourself to what looks like the black rubbered-in racing line there on the last corner is really freeing up the exit. It's nice. So definitely room for more curb there. I think you were...
that wasn't very good.
Yeah, we just turned in a little bit too late, I think, for that first chicane. So that's decent curb use on that one. There's still a little bit more, though.
Nope, that was my old technique. Late.
We got the second curb there. It's just that entry curb we need, and it was the entry that we were losing time on actually before. That's nice.
Nope. Had to lift.
The right-hander down the hill was good. We just couldn't get the next bit. I find this section very difficult on this setup. Just keep going until you've got enough into the rhythm to nail it. I gave myself 8 laps to get down to my best time, so keep going.
It's not very fast.
So main focus on this first chicane is getting all the way over that first curb in 4th gear. So you still have about a foot to go. But if you can...
Fuck!
That's alright. Don't worry. I don't think the car will repair itself. Let's see.
No.
No, I definitely forgot to turn damage off. That's alright. We'll just do another run. It's fine. You can go through the tyre warm-up phase again and enjoy that bit. Whilst you're recovering back to the pits and everything, I'm just going to watch that back. I mean, obviously, I've done that loads of times. Yeah, it's almost the exact same crash I had, except you saved the initial bit. So in terms of that chicane, I obviously don't have the data for that lap, but I think I'm looking at the turn-in point. So
Still
where
late.
do we... I don't want to tell you it's late until I know it definitely is, but we kind of come off the curb at the last white one, and we're definitely off it by the red one. Yeah, the front tyre's off by the time we get to the red. So let's look at mine. And I appreciate I'm not actually on the curb, so it's probably not going to be a very good comparison, but let's see. I mean, I'm clearly way earlier because I'm not even on the curb, but you can see, like, if I was on a white line here, I'd be off it. So yeah, I think 1 or 2 squares earlier. Do I even make it over that curb? Yeah, and even then, I still very much... I'm not right on the limit still. There's still more. I could be touching that yellow bit. But I'm climbing over it, and then very much climbing over this one. Like that, like, you know, half the tyre on the green in the middle here. And I think this looks like this is how a lot of people drive it, because of the way the paint is gone here, and how there's rubber marks over the yellow thing. So I think it's valid to be cutting more of these curbs and like straightening out these 2 chicanes. They're not even raised curb. I know the yellow bit is, but the curb itself isn't even raised. So it's, I think, cutting it more and using that slightly earlier turn. God, it's weird watching. I'm not even out here. So if you're able to get all the way out here with your turn 1 technique, you should be able to do this more easily than I did. So it's definitely doable. So I think that's maybe the focus of this next one, just making sure we're really all over those curbs.
Okay.
But right, let's go. I'll jump back.
We've got a little rubber down into the wall there.
Yeah.
Okay. Where am I? Here I am. Great. Looks like I get to do tire warm up again. How are things at home? Good?
Yeah, good. Yeah, got quite a busy week coming up, but everything good at the moment. Lots of work coming in. How about with you?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm getting ready to travel for a meeting that I have in Phoenix, and then it's my anniversary. So
Phoenix
wife,
is very far for you, isn't it?
it's not too bad actually. Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah. We're just making the most of the warm-up laps that don't really count.
Exactly. It's about an hour. It's about an hour and 20 minutes by plane.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna fly to San Diego. My wife's never been there before. It's our anniversary, so we're gonna go down to San Diego for a couple days and spend our anniversary there.
Oh, that's nice.
The only reason I got that technique right there on that last corner, which is fairly quick, is remembering your advice about sometimes the straighter braking and later turning is faster. And
Yeah.
so I just started giving it a try.
Well, I should remember my own advice.
No. Sometimes I notice that when my tires are not really warmed up, that I'm faster going through that in a gear down.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You obviously
I just
adapt however you need to when the conditions are different like that, like
I,
tire conditions.
I've just been grabbing it just briefly and then back up, but that was fast again there. I can feel it when it's fast.
Yeah. We were pretty late on the turn-in again that time, just by comparison. That was definitely slightly later than you previously did it.
Losing time to my delta there.
We're still quite early in the run here, don't worry. That I know we didn't get to the second curb. We got the first apex curb really nicely on that downhill right. I think that was more of just like a turning left too slowly thing that time.
Mm-hmm. No, I slowed too much that time. No, I was still pretty fast, but it felt
It's
like
good
I
that you're
was.
consistently fast through there, even when it feels slow.
Yeah.
Right, so just don't turn in too late. Just edge in slightly earlier. Use loads of curb.
Oh.
Second curb was good. What was the problem with the first one? Were we too fast, maybe? No, it was still really late on the turn in. That's why. So you actually went. You didn't come off until the final white block. If you remember before, when it was slightly too early, it was the penultimate white block. So we just need to break that muscle memory into there. That was nice. Closer. We still need to just turn left earlier when you do that direction change in that final chicane.
That was fast.
Look good. Okay, so in chicane 1, it's quite a bit earlier than you are used to turning in. Okay, that was closer for sure. So we used half the curb on each side that time.
I'm up 2/10.
Okay, good. So it's the right direction. We just need to maximise that, that's all. quicker left that time. That was good. You got from right to left quicker. I don't know if the whole section was actually faster, but you did the direction change really well. You made the most of the hand you were dealt by yourself. Okay, so just don't be afraid of those yellow sausage curbs. That's all I'd say, because it looked like you were just trying to avoid them slightly, and it meant you only used half the curb again. As soon as you use that full curb in the first chicane, you're going to be so fast.
Oh. I had to save myself with another gear. That was fast.
Every time you do the last corner. Love it.
Just the last corner, though.
Yeah. The last corner is amazing. Okay, so second chicane, you're using a good amount of curb. For whatever reason, that first chicane is still only like nibbling the curb when we need to absolutely eat it. Well, we're still alive. That looked good. Like the drop into that left, into the right. Sorry, we didn't quite get the left curb. I think this is all going to be about curb use, as it often is, and like really just maximising it. I'm going to know the moment you are all over the first apex curb in the first chicane, the lap time's going to be amazing. Because these high speed sweeps you're great at. It's just the slightly more fiddly, slower corners that we just have to maximise.
Usually that's a little bit different, right? At other tracks,
exactly.
I'm usually pretty quick at the slower stuff, and
it's going to have to be an earlier lift, I think. An earlier lift and an earlier turn into that chicane. Because it's very consistent. The way you're missing the curbs is very, very consistent. It's like the same every time. So there was one lap where you said you were 2/10 up, where you kind of got them. I'm just watching them back now. Yeah, it's definitely you're doing a much later turn still than me into that first one. Okay, much better at getting it turned left. And in fact, you had room to spare on the exit. You could have gotten the power even earlier. So that was way sharper going from right to left.
nope. Oh, maybe I saved it. Oh!
Maybe not.
Fuck!
That's okay. You know what? I think we've got enough data from that run that we can at least like check and fine tune what we've been talking about. So let me load what we've got there. Let's just grab that one. Because you did it, did a really decent lap. And I actually think the one that was your quickest was the one you said you did that chicane best. So let's just take a look at that. Let's just add it in as another data point.
I made a little mistake on the entry in the last corner, and then, like a stupid person, tried to gain back my time, right?
Yeah. Right, why is it not showing your data? Are you out of the cockpit?
Wait, sorry, speaking Italian. Okay.
I'll just let it load. I'll show you on the video anyway. Whilst it's okay, it's thinking about loading the session. So whilst it's doing that, I'll just show you that lap. So it was this one. I think this was your best one. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Alright, so obviously turn one is like all decent and nice. So this one, is this the one we got on the curb? Yeah, so this is the most you use the curb on any of the laps. And still you can see we've got quite a bit of space to go. And it was like half and nearly half there. So if you can do full and full, it's going to be great. And even here, I think you came off slightly earlier. Certainly the angle of the car, you're angled in a tiny bit sooner than before. Let's just go up slightly so we can see. Yeah, so instead of it being like, quite often you'd come off the curb at the final white block, but that time you were off the curb at the penultimate white block, so that was definitely better. You were off, your front right tyre was off the curb before the red, so that's still slightly earlier than before, so that's good. But there's obviously like a little bit more here, like, so I want you to kind of touch the rounded bottom part of these, and then you know you're maximising it. And certainly that's what I did. I don't think I managed it on the first one. I was relatively close. This second one, though, I definitely did. And it's this pushing you wide. And this was your quickest. So, you were 2 tenths up, like you said at this point. So you could be another 10th up. And as long as the rest of the lap's clean, then suddenly you'll be matching me or ahead of me. Let's look at the data, see if it's loaded yet. But that was the only lap that you did that. Most other laps, in fact, let's just show you that before we... Most other laps were more like this one. This is a final flyer. Where we're coming... Oh, in fact, look, you have managed to just about get off the curb here before the red one. But for whatever reason, maybe it's the speed, maybe it's how hard you're steering. But we're like there. This was the more normal line through there. And then suddenly your corner's just really tight. You're definitely going to struggle to carry good speed through there. And then on the right as well, we're still only just nibbling it. So the key is still going to be... The key to unlocking this will be bigger curb use. Let's see. Here we go. This is the one. Here. Two purple sectors. Use more curb. Always. Almost always. All right, let's make that one green so we can see. Right. Yeah, I mean, clearly, through that first chicane, look, you've done it differently, for sure. Like, here to here, there's no wonder you gained some time. It's way better. It's, like, way, way better. So that is good. Yeah, that is good. You can still go in a little quicker, apparently. Still brake a little bit later. That's what's interesting is how we're missing the curb, even though we're going in that bit slow. It should easily make it to it.
Maybe it's because I'm picking up throttle and getting an understeer.
Yeah, look here, same thing. Yeah, you're right. Look, you're going in slower, but you're straight on the power. So look, you're on the gas. That's good spot, Robert. Look, you're on the power here. Like, before you're even at the apex. I'm not even considering power until I'm passing through the apex to here. I think that's how. I think that is probably part of this. Maybe it's missing the curb because... In fact, I'm sure it's missing the curb because on your approach to it, you're picking the gas back up. Whereas I'm still thinking about braking at this point. I actually have a little touch of the brake just there when you're already back at 20% gas. I think that's maybe a bigger issue because you're lifting earlier... This is one way round or the other. I'm not sure which way round this is, but either because you're lifting early, you're then being prompted to get back on the gas because you feel like you can, or because you know it's going to run wide, you're then lifting early to try and compensate for that. It's one of the two, but whatever it is, they're kind of connected. So actually, you can lift later, but just stay lifted. Like, don't get back on. Again, I'm going to point back to this. I've got a much worse line than you on the way in, but it still goes through quicker. And it's because I'm off the throttle. It's because of that. And not only that, off throttle and even considering a little brake nudge just to tweak the angle. It's mainly the being off throttle, though. That's it. I think you've solved that little mystery, because the one thing the green and the red line are both doing, and they're both running wide, even though the green one's much better, is that they're both getting back on very early, like really, really early. So I think that is key. Although on this particular one, on the green lap here, you managed a really good effort. You just still lost a bit on the entry because we lifted a bit early. But yeah, and look how much better the green is here as well. Like if I zoom out, way better through here. On the exit of that, that's now sorted. So you can kind of probably forget about that. And look, also, if I go out even further, let's take that whole section there. Yeah, so here, into that second chicane, you're getting a better exit than before. It's not perfect on the exit, but better than before. But you're quicker in here, so quicker than me in here. Slower than you previously were, but you're obviously gaining that exit. So it's definitely better. You've gone in the right direction there. And this bit here, we're really different. This is just bizarre how different we are. But you're definitely making up on the exit. You know, for this little bit here, you're quicker all the way down the hill here. So I still don't think really this is the bit to worry about, because you know, if we look from here onwards, you're gaining back on me and gaining and gaining. It's mainly going to be first chicane, I think. It's doable. It's definitely doable. What's this? Let's just look at the third one, because that's the other one we were looking at. Yeah, so this hasn't changed. Interestingly, in those runs we haven't fixed final chicane, and it's because you're still going in a bit too quick. So it's the same issue. At least it's consistent. This is really good to see, to be honest, because it means that the lap we were looking at wasn't just like a weird outlier. This is what you're doing every time. So yeah, okay. So third chicane, whichever one it is.
Yeah.
Third. We need to go in slower and come off quicker for sure, because that's killing you down this next straight. From here all the way down to the breaking point for the next corner, you're losing a lot of time there. That's the place where I gain probably the most in one hit. That's where it's like a 2 and a bit tenth gain or something like that. So, and it's all because I'm sacrificing slight entry. Yeah, look at the green and the red line in terms of positioning. At least that proves it though. At least that's like, okay, that needs fixing still. That's a thing that you can consistently gain time on if you just go in slower to the third chicane. First one is more about the curb, the staying off the gas to allow you to use the curb. So lift later, but stay lifted until you're nearly out of the apex, and that'll allow it to rotate. Second one, what were we saying for the second one? It was better, but it wasn't perfect. So second chicane here. Something happened here. Why did we not come off as well? You're in the right gear. What was it that stopped it here? We might need to look at the video. It might have just been hesitation. You might have just not been... Because look, the speed doesn't pick up because the throttle's not really on. I think, if we just look at that lap... It was this one here, wasn't it? I think you just weren't confident enough to get on the gas because maybe you've not been that quick through there before, but... Oh, have I gone too far? Yeah, it's this one. That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, you had a bit more space. You just were slightly... Yeah, I can hear it. I know you can't hear it. It's like... Yeah, I mean, I don't want to criticise too much for that, because you didn't have a lot of space. You had some space, and yeah, maybe you would have run wider. But it's just that not getting on the gas fully there. And I also backed off and then got back on. So I think maybe you see that little bit where I backed off. Maybe I just managed to get it rotated slightly more. But I did run wider than you, so I allowed it to go wider for sure here. So it's kind of a combination. Main thing though, I think turn one, more significant lift, early turn, more significant lift, use more curb, nail that bit. That's the main thing. Let's do it.
Fine.
Let's just go do that.
Just simple as that, huh? Two days worth of work and you've just destroyed me.
Lovely use of the curb there on cold tyres. What a beautiful part of the world this track's in. I was looking at the clouds coming in over the mountains down by turn 1 earlier. It looked really cool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful track. A
I can
beautiful
almost
place.
taste the wine and smell the food.
Okay.
I'm not judging it yet because it's still too cold. Yeah, there's that. Getting it slightly tighter to the right in the middle is going to be the key there, which is just... It's not dramatically different braking to what you're doing. It's just a little bit harder. Like, just slightly slower on the approach. It's really not a big change for that, but it'll massively improve your exit. Give it one more lap before I judge the tyre temp. So I was just watching your replay back through turn 1. Oof. Nicely saved. Okay, that means I can talk to you because this one won't be the best lap. Yeah, turn 1. Well done for staying lifted. The turn-in point was still pretty late, though. You were still as late as you have been. So if you can do that lift, you know, the nice big lift, but turn in that little bit earlier, that's the combination that will get you to that apex curb.
All right, we'll do it this time.
Just watch out in the high-speed corners in the middle of the lap. Some idiot's dragged a load of gravel onto the track.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know about you. That third chicane looked better to me.
Yeah, it was. I've got to figure out now where I lost time on the Delta going through there, but the
Okay.
line was better.
Yeah, I think you were almost too cautious getting on the gas because you had quite a lot of room left on the exit that time. So you had quite a lot of space to move into if you'd got to full throttle earlier. But the entry looked neat. You've now got the right positioning to maximise the exit.
Much faster. I'm 3/10 up.
Yeah, you're positioned really well. I think you can carry more speed through the second part of that final chicane now.
Yeah, whatever adjustment I've made is too much in one direction because I've
Yeah,
lost like 3/10
it'll
going
be
through
really
there.
obvious when you see the positioning of the car. You'll be like, why didn't I just get on the gas earlier? It's because you're used to not having that much room. You've done it so many times than your normal way, where you can't get away with mashing the throttle on the exit, and now I think you can. Now I think you can just send it through the final bit, and it'll have loads of room.
Faster again.
Yeah, that looked good that time. A little bit too slow turning right that time. First chicane was definitely better.
Oh,
That was definitely a bit fast, but you keep going. See, that little yellow sausage curb wasn't too bad. It did a little bounce. It
no.
wasn't terrible.
No, I've lost my wheel. I've got to get a new wheel. This is pissing me off. I went to take a downshift and it just wasn't there.
Yeah, I could hear you clicking, and I could hear the car not changing.
It's funny, it's when I'm really stressing the car. In other words, not stressing the car, but when I'm sort of on the limit of RPMs and
Yeah.
everything.
That's weird. Right, same as you did the first chicane last time. It was really good.
That wasn't very good.
Alright, let's do another one. Let's give you one more chance. We've definitely got enough data to point you in the right direction of what you need to work on this week, but let's just do one more, see if we can nail it.
Okay. You need a student with more skill.
Just get as close to that yellow sausage curb in the first chicane on both sides as you can. It's like there's a kitten on there that you're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
I want the data from this lap, whatever happens though. Because it's the
That was the
latest
old
lap.
technique.
Yeah, that's okay. No problem. At least we know for sure.
I tried to make up for it in that corner.
The track temperature is falling. It's now 21 Celsius.
I was a little slower going through there this time.
Okay, well, I've seen you do those ones well. Like, go one more time through this first chicane. If the chicane doesn't go well, though, we'll abort the lap. There is no kitten on those apex curves. Yes, that's better. Good stuff. Right, keep going then.
Oh,
Just keep going, keep going. Right, you've got loads of room this time, so you can really go for it.
I'm up almost 2/10. 2/10.
Hey, okay, right. Right, we got one. We got a lap that we can look at. The final one. Okay, good. Good stuff. I really want to show you the difference here through that first chicane. I know you can feel it. I know you're in the cockpit, so you know you kind of saw it firsthand. But I just want to show you your penultimate lap versus the final lap through that first chicane. Like, this was the one where I said, just really hit those apex curves. Like, the one thing you focus on, hit those apex curves. And that was this. Like, and on the other side, there. It was like,
way to listen to your coach.
you couldn't have missed them more. And then the final lap, where you were saying you were up, there's still more to use, but just way more. Like, just so much better. Like, so much better. There's just a little bit more. And what about this one? And that one is, you know, pretty bloody decent. There's still a tyre width, sorry. A tyre width on both sides. But that's fine. Like, you can tweak that. But you definitely don't want to be missing them anyway. I think, hopefully, you've actually seen how much it gains you anyway on the Delta, so that's good.
Yeah, for sure.
And then this was the final lap, wasn't it? So let's just look at that final chicane. So this time, when we got to here, this is when I said to you in real time, like, you've got loads of space now. I could see that you weren't going to run deep. But look, this is now fine. So you can now get to full throttle at this point, even though you're going to have to lift again to get it rotated. Right now, you can go full, and then lift back on, and there's definitely more curb to use. So that's something that consistently we tended to turn left a little bit too late into here. Like, we should already be on the way there, because we want to go point to point. You know, loads of curb, loads of exit curb, but we go like kiss, and then loads of exit curb. But if you'd already been angled at the curb slightly earlier, you'd have just been on full throttle earlier. So there's a little bit more time to find there, but this one, at least from here, you're like in the right position to maximise that exit. You've now just got to do that maximising. But I'm interested to see how that data looks compared to your other ones, which were really consistently not quite good through there. So I just want to see how that one looks. Let's just fire that up now. We'll do notes on this one. So we've got way too many things now. So let's delete let's get rid of the first one. Yeah, let's get rid of the first one because the second one was roughly the same lap time anyway. Let's go get some more data. Hey,
It's gonna be the
I don't care. Yeah, but it was on a
Yeah,
straight. Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't gain time from it. It was just one of those kisses of the gravel. Right. Okay. What color do we want? Let's make this one like pink-ish. There we go. Oh, and I need to be blue, and then we know what's what. Right. Okay. So you're up on me in turn 1. So you're better than me through turn 1. Up to turn 2, you're still like a tenth ahead. Let's see how it looked through there. Yeah, okay. So we're going in the right direction. Look at the pink line here now. We're in the right direction now through here. And you did, although you still crept on the gas a bit earlier than me, much more obviously off. So you lifted later, but you can still lift even later. You stayed fully off, and then you got back on earlier. But getting back on earlier there is probably because you've lifted earlier. So, you just like offset a bit. But that was better. Definitely better. Mid-corner's good. We lost a little bit here. So why is that? Why? Oh, probably because we still weren't using... Yeah, you were tighter. We didn't use quite as much curb, and you didn't let it run as wide. So you didn't have this moment here early on the way into the right-hand turn where I'm like, yeah, we're all good. Lots of gas here. It's like there to there.
No.
I'm picking up the throttle, so I go through the middle a bit quicker. But by here, you're quicker. On the next straight, you're quicker. It's definitely an improvement. You've gone in the right direction. You can just go even more that direction. You can go, and then you'll be able to go slightly faster in. But that's mainly, I think, going to be more curb use. Second chicane. Let's have. Oh, I should make a note on this. Sorry. Let's do that. So, what should we say? Main aim is to
Kill the cat.
Yeah, kill the cat. I'm going to say that. I wouldn't know. I'm a massive cat lover, so I wouldn't normally use that. But it's very visual. There's a thing on the apex that you want to hit. So, I guess it's turn 2 and 3, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There is scope for a later lift as long as you stay lifted. Okay, that'll just like change the shape there. But yeah, I mean now through that section, if you look at the time, just say we go from here on the turn in, we 0.51 ahead. By the time we get to here, you've lost like 100th. So it's really not a lot in it. You're quicker in this middle bit. I'm quicker in this first bit. You don't have to worry about this too much now. If you can do what you did on that lap every time and use more curb, you'll be quicker than I am through there, using your version of this technique, where you're slightly slower in, slightly quicker in the middle here. You'll just be able to go a tiny bit quicker than you currently are by using that curb. So this will then turn into another section where actually your version's slightly quicker than mine. You're nearly there now on that lap. Right, next bit here. Okay, you're way faster on the entry here. This is interesting. Right, okay, so let's just take this in parts. As you turn into the second chicane...
And way slower coming out.
Yeah, you gain a couple of tenths, and then on the exit, you lose those
Track
tenths.
temperature's rising.
Okay,
It's now 23
so
Celsius.
just wind this back a bit. Because what you did on the green version was slightly better for here. So yeah, I think maybe just a little bit slower in so you can be much closer here. That's all. I probably don't even need to write this, like I'm just going to put it in anyway. So maybe, if I can type, slightly less speed on entry to avoid losing quite as much exit time. Like it's fine if you go in really fast and you lose some on the exit, but you have a net gain. That's fine. But I'm not sure whether you do. We'll double check it. Let's see. So at this point here, 0.55 ahead, and by here say 0.105 down. So yeah, probably not. It isn't the best compromise. So yeah, we'll just go in slightly slower so that you're just not losing time down this next little straight. Then here we know this is all pretty good. Like you drag back on me here, so you're 2 and a bit tenths down. By the time we get here, you've gained those 2 tenths back. So you're really good here. In fact, I should give you a little green tick because this is great. This whole section. This whole high-speed section is mega. We're going to have a couple more of those in a minute.
Hooray.
Where's it gone? Oh, there it is. Right, okay, this chicane isn't quite there. Okay, so
Like the
you
teacher
did.
saying, you really did a good job on problem 2, but
That you did get a better exit than before. It's not dramatic, but we saw from the video that you didn't use all of the scope that you had, because you positioned the car really well here. Look, almost too well, but then we didn't get to that curve. You can see on the where the purple line is. Like by this bit here means you should easily get to that curve, but you didn't. So that just shows we turned left too late. So just get it turned more, like earlier, and then you're using enough exit, but we ran out of room, and that meant you couldn't get on the power as hard and early, or carry as much speed. So that's that. Just basically, in fact, let's just pop it on here. We're still trying to go in maybe slightly too quick, but actually this time by here, you and I are doing the same speed. So although you went in quicker and brake later, you actually managed to sort that out by here. But then you maybe just slightly overslowed it and then ended up being too tight. It's very fine margins. But here, I'll just make a note. At this point, the speed is good. And you have the world at your feet. It's just up to you to then maximise it on the next bit. This is obviously slightly too much of an overslow, but it's not massive. But it's this next bit here where we just have to make sure we get to the inside curb, so the left-hand curb.
I'm just not accustomed to being able to reach it. Because
Yeah.
I was going
Yeah,
so
exactly,
fast.
exactly. You've now got the positioning where you can. To maximise the room you have on exit. Oh, I can't not type. Okay, yeah. So that then will free up this bit, then this little speed here where you're like 10k slower, you won't be, and then you'll be gaining, because really this one bit here from here to here is where I make the biggest gain on you on the entire lap. So just from there to there, it's a very short section. Like right here, you're half a tenth down, and then you're nearly 4/10 down before you get to the braking point of the next corner. So that's particularly crucial, and you haven't lost anything to here. So like this by here, you're fine. It's all in the middle to the exit of that corner. So that's particularly crucial. So that's why we've got our 3 little things here. And then I don't need to say anything for this. You are too... I said this. I think I even used these same words last time. Too good in the final sector. Slow down. That's what I said. Like this and this are just really good. Like here as well. Like you're doing the right thing. I've got nothing to teach you on those because you're doing them well. So and you're consistent. You're pretty blooming consistent on how you're doing it. So it's all if you were just slightly better in this corner here, you'd be miles ahead of me. That's it. Like, and if you can do that and that as well as that, then you're there. But I mean, it's really good as a whole. So if you can fix it, you're laughing. You're gonna just destroy everyone. So, but yeah, hopefully that's something to at least aim for this week. We've distilled it and narrowed it down and found where like the main pace difference is. But yeah, good job, man. I'm gonna just stop the recording so we don't run